Hello everyone, welcome back to another Roblox tutorial. Today we're going over a classic system inside of Roblox that is in almost every single game out there, and that is the leaderboard system, where you can see all the players, you can see different variables, and in a lot of games this shows you how much gold you have. It's a lot of cool things, and almost every Roblox game has it, so I'm going to show you how to create it today. It's really easy, really straightforward, so let's get into it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to have to do is we're going to have to go to server script storage. This is where we're going to place the script that controls our leaderboard. And we're going to add a script into it. And I'm going to call this script player values. So the first thing, once we're inside of this script, is we're going to create our function that's going to be ran whenever the player joins. So we're going to call it local function, and then I'm going to call it on player join, and there's going to be a player object inside of it. And that's going to be our function. Now we also need to grab the player service so that we know whenever a player joins the server. So I'm going to call it players, and we're going to get the game service called players, just like that. And then we're going to connect the on player join function to the player added function from the player service. So we're going to get the player service, and then we're going to look at the player added function, and we're going to connect our own function to it. Awesome. So now this function is going to be called every single time a player joins our game. So what we're going to do now is we're going to create an object called leader stats. And you have to call it leader stats. It has to be named this because this is how the game knows that it's going to be your leaderboard object. So we're going to call it an instance new, and it's going to be a new folder. And this is where we're going to store all the other instances of whatever you want to see on that later leaderboard. So I have levels, I have XP, and I have gold on it. And we're going to create all three of those right here. So, but first we need to create the leader stats, and then we're going to call it, and again, this name is very important. We have to call it leader stats so that the game recognizes it. And then we have to set its parent to the player, so that way we know the leader stats for that individual player and that these leader stats are assigned to that player. Okay. And then that's pretty much all we have to do to get it set up. Now we just have to add whatever we want to it. So there's a few different types. There's int values, string values, bool values, anything inside of this instance.new we can use. So I'm going to create, like I said, I'm going to create my gold, I'm going to create a level, and I'm going to create an XP. So let's do the level first. So we're going to call it local level. It's going to be equal to an instance of a new int value. So really cool. And then we're going to just call this level, we're going to set its name to just be level as it was. And then we're going to set its value to be 1. Every player is going to start with 1. And then we have to set this instance's parent to be leader stats. This way it knows it's part of the leaderboard and it's going to be shown on there. So actually, if we run our game now, we should see that it appears there, and you can see my username with the level there. So that's how you get it working. It's really simple. I'm going to add the other two, and then we can create a very easy, very simple leveling up system for our player. So now if I go back to the player value script, I'm going to quickly add the other two. So I'm going to add one called gold. I'm actually going to do XP first. And this is, again, just going to be another int value, really simple. And whoops. We're going to call it XP. And you can name these whatever you want. The names of these don't matter. Just, again, keep testing to see how it actually looks when you run it. And we're going to set it to 0. And again, the parent has to be the leader stats. And then for the gold, we're going to do an instance.new, and it's going to be another int value. And then we're going to call it gold. And then we're going to set its value to be, I'm going to start all of my players with 1,000 gold. And the last thing, again, we have to add it to leader stats as its parent. Awesome. So now if we run the game, we should see that all of those values appear in the correct order that we added them with the correct value on our leaderboard right there. So that's really cool. And now I'm just going to create a very simple leveling system, kind of to show how you can do that, because it's only a few lines of code. So basically what you have to do is we're going to have to look at the XP value. So we're going to look at the XP value, and Roblox in Lua, you can look at when a value is changed. So whenever it's changed, we're going to connect our own function to it. There we go. Okay. And I'm just going to call this the level up logic. And then we are going to get access to the new value, the new XP. And then I'm going to set the base level up to 999. So this is what it's going to be the first time you level up +1, and I'll explain it in a sec. So this is how much XP the player is going to need to level up to level 2, I guess, in this circumstance. And then we're going to calculate how much XP we need. And I'm going to do that using a very simple exponential function. So we're going to get the current level that we're at, which is level.value, because we have access to that. And then we're just going to square it, and we're going to add the base level up. Basically, what this does, all this is saying is that in order to level up, this is what our XP is going to have to look like. It's going to get harder every single level to go up. And that way, because if we only had it where it required X amount per level up, it would be a linear line. And you could do that. That works for a game. But most games go exponentially. So each level gets harder and harder. And as you get up, it gets even harder to level up. But then we're also going to add a little bit to that. So that way, you don't just start leveling up as soon as you have 0 experience. That's the base experience I was talking about. So as you see, it requires 1,000 experience to level up the first time, and then it goes up all the way. And because we're starting at level 1, our first X is going to be over here at 1,000. So if we go back to coding, this is just going to be the simple equation to see what we need in order to level up. And then we're just going to check if we have that. So if the new experience is greater than or equal to the XP that's needed, then all we have to do is level the player up. So we're going to set the XP value. We're not going to reset it to 0 because they could go over the amount and we don't want to just remove all of that experience. We're just going to subtract the amount needed from the value, not the whole value. And then we're going to get the level and we're going to get its value. And then all we're going to do is add 1 to it. Very simple, very self-explanatory. And then I'm not going to do a full tutorial on how to use these values or how to add them in other instances, but I will show it a little bit. So for example, if we go over to our NPC that I have, this is the store NPC that you can hand in the logbooks to. And basically what that does is it's going to give you experience and gold for handing in logbooks that you get from killing other player submarines. So as you can see, we have our proximity prompt when the player walks up. And all we have to do is, because the player is already given to us from this proximity prompt, we just have to find the first child of this player that's called leader stats. It's going to return to us all the values that are stored inside of the player's leaderboard. So then to get the gold and XP, we're just going to use those player stats and we're going to find the first child of either gold or XP, depending on what we're doing. And then to simply modify those values, all we have to do is get the value and then add or subtract to it or even set. So it's a really simple way to handle values in your game and to be able to manipulate those leaderboard values. So now if we play the game and we go over and we pick up these logbooks, and again, this is for my game Submerged Scoundrels. If you're interested, check out the Discord below and my other videos. But these logbooks you get from killing other players' submarines, and they'll drop whenever the submarines are destroyed. But if we go over to the representative, we can now sell these to him. And as you can see, when we sell them, our level increased because we got over 1,000 XP. So our level increased and it went back down to 0. And then our gold also increased. So that is a very simple way to get leaderboard stats working. I'll do another tutorial eventually about how to save those in a data store and have those recorded between playthroughs, because that's another really important feature. But stay tuned for more updates. And like I said, all of this is being done inside of my Roblox game called Submerged Scoundrels, which is a submarine pirate game that I'm making based off of Sea of Thieves. So if you're at all interested in that game, check out the Discord in the description below, and go check out all my other videos on the progress that I've been making on that game. I'm really excited for it, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks.